Well, the first 24 hours of the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports is already raising serious questions. And it's not about its effectiveness. It's also about the accuracy of the claims surrounding it. The U.S. military has declared the opening phase a success. Their Central Command said that no ship breached the blockade and 6 merchant vessels were turned back from the Iranian ports. But several reports of Iranian ships breaking the blockade are now challenging these claims made by Washington. Adding an unexpected twist to the Hormuz showdown, Trump on his Truth Social has today claimed that China is very happy that he has decided to permanently open the Strait of Hormuz. However, there are no official announcements made yet. Now, Trump stresses that such a move was being done for China and the world, and in his own words asserts that China has agreed not to send weapons to Iran. Multiple independent tracking sources are painting a very different picture than what is going on in the Hormuz Strait. Maritime analytics firms, including Kepler, reported that at least 3 ships, including the Christiana and the Elpis, were seen transiting the Strait of Hormuz shortly after the blockade came into force. Now, shipping data cited by Reuters indicates that at least 8 vessels, including 3 Iran-linked tankers, that crossed the strait during the first full day of the blockade. There was another striking report by the Wall Street Journal that speaks differently. The American Daily quotes officials and says that more than 20 ships may have passed through the strait in a single day. Now, there is a clear gap between the official military claims of Washington and independent shipping data. There is an important distinction here as well. Some of the vessels that did transit the strait were not heading to Iranian ports, and therefore they were not directly targeted by the blockade. Reports of Iranian ships continuing to move through the strait comes after the confrontation between U.S. and China over the Hormuz blockade. Now, according to shipping tracker websites, 2 China-linked vessels moved through the strait despite the blockade imposed by the United States. Reports also suggest that both of these ships have been sanctioned by America. Iranian military says the U.S. naval blockade will lead to ceasefire violation. In fact, Iran's military has also warned that it would block trade through the Red Sea, along with the Gulf and the Sea of Oman, if the U.S. naval blockade continues. The head of Iran's military Central Command Center said that if the U.S. continues with its blockade and creates insecurity for Iran's commercial vessels and oil tankers, it will constitute a prelude to violating the ceasefire. Ali Abdullahi tells in his statement, and I quote him here, "The powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic will not allow any exports or imports to continue in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Red Sea." So whatever is happening at Hormuz is far more clear on paper. The U.S. calls it a success, but on the water, shipping data suggests a more complex reality. And in diplomacy, claims and counterclaims are emerging that could have a wider impact on the entire region. While doubling down on his feud with Pope Leo, the U.S. President Donald Trump has made a rather contentious claim to justify America's war against Iran. Countering the Pope, who has been a vocal critic of the West Asian war, Trump said, and I quote him, "Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months." Now, this stands in sharp contrast to what Trump said barely a month ago. Speaking with the media in March this year, he'd accused Iranian authorities of killing 32,000 protesters, which is 10,000 less than what he's saying now.
I've watched Iran for a long time. I've called them out 20 years ago when I was a civilian that liked watching the world. And they're violent, vicious people. The leadership, violent, vicious people. They killed 32,000 protesters over the last 3 weeks.
Now, in the backdrop of soaring prices of food and medical items and the rial crashing to 1.42 million to the US dollar, nationwide protests broke out in Iran on the 28th of December last year. They were the biggest since 2022, when Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old, had died in police custody. The protests, which lasted for nearly 2 months across several cities like Tehran, Isfahan and Qom, saw chaotic scenes with some chanting "Death to Khamenei" slogans and the authorities opening fire on people. Even university students staged protests. But even the 32,000 death toll figure quoted by Donald Trump openly contradicts the data released by the human rights activist news agency, or the HRANA, an agency that is funded by the American government-backed National Endowment for Democracy. The US-based agency stated that over 6,400 protesters had been killed in Iran until the 23rd of February. As per the agency, more than 25,000 civilians were injured, while 53,000 people were arrested. On the other hand, the Iranian government has officially announced that 3,117 people died during the nationwide protests. While even one life is precious, remember, the spate of claims and counterclaims raises a key question, and that is, will we ever get to know an accurate figure of how many Iranians lost their lives during the nationwide protests? The concern remains that these deaths will be relegated to mere statistics amid the din of the West Asia war. With barely 3 weeks to go for election to the local bodies as well as the Scottish and Welsh Parliament, UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer's electoral prospects continue to flounder. The Labour Party's popularity has been on a decline since the last few months. For instance, Labour came third behind the Greens and Reform UK in the Gorton and Denton parliamentary election that was held in February this year. Now, a YouGov survey conducted between 12th and 13th of April has predicted a poor show for UK's ruling party. As per this latest poll, Labour occupies the 4th spot in terms of popularity with 17% support. As compared to this, 19% of the respondents actually prefer the Conservative Party. Nigel Farage-led Reform UK continues to be the most popular political outfit so far, with 24% respondents likely to vote for the party. Even the Green Party, as you can see, is ahead of Labour with the backing of 18% respondents. Another survey, meanwhile, conducted by JL Partners, throws up a stark scenario for UK's Labour Party in the local body polls. While Labour currently controls 83 out of 136 council, it is less likely to win over 42 local bodies this time. In contrast, Nigel Farage may emerge as the biggest gainer this time around, as his Reform UK is projected to win at least 56 councils. Liberal Democrats and Conservatives are poised to gain power in less than 20 councils each. Now, Labour's woes are not restricted to England alone. As per JL Partners' survey, the Keir Starmer-led party is all set to be relegated to the 3rd position in the 96-member Welsh Parliament as well. While remember, it won 30 seats last time around, it may bag only 17 in these upcoming elections. If this scenario pans out, it will be a huge setback for the Labour, as it has been the single largest party in every Welsh Parliament election since 1999. Keir Starmer has been under pressure over the Epstein files fallout. This came after emails released by the US Department of Justice put the spotlight on the deep association between Peter Mandelson and the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In February, Starmer's Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney stepped down, taking full responsibility for advising the PM to appoint Peter Mandelson as the ambassador to US. Meanwhile, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who is in the opposition, has made his endgame clear through his party's slogan for the upcoming polls. It says, "Vote Reform, get Starmer out." Now, with Farage asserting that Starmer will no longer remain the Prime Minister by May end, it is now increasingly clear that the polls scheduled on the 7th of May can make or break his future.